So, anyways, welcome to Mental Health and Motivational Monday.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we're with Paulie O'Byrne this evening.
Yeah.
I said that right?
Yeah, you said it
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Paulie has an amazing story we're going to go through. Not only that, but you've faced some tremendous hurdles that you've overcome.
Yeah.
And it's a very inspirational story to those that are about to hear it.
Yeah.
And Paulie is also someone who is sober, so it's nice. I think you're the first person I've talked to that's been, well, maybe the second person, but first person on the podcast that has been sober with me.
Right on.
So this is cool.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, sure. You will. Where's your rock star?
I'll
There you
drink
go.
to that for sure.
Rockstar and green tea. I love it. So Paulie, tell me a little bit about yourself, because you're the founder of a really cool organization called 1 in 5, right? And also a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what 1 in 5 is, first of all, and how that kind of came into your life.
Cool. So 1 in 5 is it's the stat of males who are sexually abused in Canada, but it's also a stat of Canadians who are affected by addiction and mental illness. So it kind of
all goes hand in hand. Yeah.
So I didn't know about 1 in 5 like my whole life until I didn't even know about it until just recently. Well, in 2011, I went to a golf tournament and I met Theo Fleury. And
really? And he's the one that told you about 1 in 5?
Well, he said, if 1 in 5 guys are going through this, where's the resources?
Right.
And I looked around, there was none.
Yeah,
sure. I have been to the sexual assault center here in London, and they said, sorry, we don't have programming for men.
Really?
And I'm like, what am I,
So this is the first of its kind almost in London, Ontario.
Yeah, kind of. So
Wow.
we've come a long way with sexual abuse, and raising awareness against males. And I don't think it's a gender issue, and I think it's a power and control issue. I don't think that sexual abuse at all is a gender issue. And I know that people will argue with me on that, but I fully believe that it's it's a power and control thing. So I was at this golf tournament, and Theo said, "Hey, why don't you tell your friends?" And I didn't know how to tell my friends. I grew up with a bunch of hockey boys. How am I going to tell them that I was sexually abused by another male?
Right.
How is this going to work? And
yeah.
So he said, "Why don't you start a Facebook page?" And so I started a Facebook page with 6 guys. And
so did you tell these 6 guys beforehand what you were planning on doing, and they knew about or did everybody just kind of find out on Facebook?
Yeah, they just kind of found it on Facebook.
Really?
I was sitting around with them, and I said, "Hey, fellas, I got something deep I got to tell you, right?" And we're used to talking about Metallica and hockey and not sexual abuse.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were just sitting around, and I said, "Hey, I'm just gonna add you to this Facebook group," and so they all kind of found out that way. And I'll always remember they're pretty big boys.
Yeah.
And they all give me a great big hug, and that's the last thing I ever expected when I told my friends. I thought my friends would leave.
Yeah.
If I ever told them, and they all got up and gave me a great big hug. And
really,
they're always there for me.
So that was a pleasant surprise.
It was very pleasant.
Good,
yeah,
man.
It was
good.
Yeah, for sure.
So we kind of jumped into a pretty big issue. So do you want to go back and explain what kind of happened? Tell us about your life. Sort of before the incident, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And then what happened afterwards and how things kind of changed for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a pretty lengthy story for sure, but
we got a full hour.
We got a full hour. Perfect.
Yeah.
So it starts in Halifax. I was born in Halifax on an army base.
Okay.
My dad was in the military. Pretty strict house growing up. My mom was a developmental service worker, and then she worked with kids that were going to school that had mental delays and stuff like that. So she was kind of, she didn't really say much, but my dad was very authoritative and very strict in the house. So as much as my dad, and I would say this, he was my hero, but I was scared shitless of him.
Sure.
I was so scared of him. And he was 6'5", 250 pounds, just a beast of a man, right? Scared the shit out of me. So I grew up in fear and not knowing about kind of life things, right? We didn't have the birds and the bees talk. We didn't talk about sex. We were a very conservative family. It looked good on the outside of our front door, but the inside there was, a lot of abuse. There was a lot of neglect. There was stuff that I never. Later in life, I thought every kid went through this stuff, and later I learned not every kid, gets threatened by their dad.
Right.
Not every kid.
Do you think that's typical military style, or do you think that was unique to your family?
I'm not really sure. I don't really know much about other military families. I just know that it's weird that I'm covered in tattoos now, but my dad said if you ever get a tattoo or your ears pierced, like, you're shunned from this family. And I think, like, now, like, what do you think of me now?
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm covered in tattoos and I have my ears pierced. And it's probably an act of defiance, to be honest with you. It's like
just to be yourself. You want to be you.
To be me, because I didn't get a chance to do that. Although, like, I played a lot of hockey. Like, I always played hockey. So it wasn't a terrible, terrible childhood because I always was at the rink. So I played a lot of hockey, and my brother played hockey. My dad played hockey. That was kind of the way it went all the way up. I wasn't a gamer. I didn't spend a lot of time on the computer or watching television. I was outside a lot of the time.
You were a sports guy.
I was the sports guy for sure.
I was that kind of kid as well. Yeah.
It was fun. Like, get muddy, eat sand.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
It's fun to do that stuff. Right?
I remember. It's a different time, right? It's a different time now.
No one wants to eat sand now because there could be a needle in it, right?
I suppose.
No one wants to do that. It's not good protein or something, you know?
I guess not.
It was a challenging childhood for sure. I remember some awful things happening, and it started pretty young. When I was 9 years old, my grandfather passed away, and he was kind of, I don't know, like, he wasn't as mean as my dad, and he loved me, right? And I think, I don't know if my other cousins would say this, but I always thought, like, I was his favorite, right?
Yeah, sure.
I always thought, like, he made me feel that way, right? He made me feel really loved and really wanted, and he was such a cool guy, and he passed away really young when I was 9 years old. And it's funny that I'm 32 now, and from 9 till 31 and a half, I'd been to a funeral like every 6 months.
Really?
And like, that's not something that I want to grow up with, right?
No kidding.
I didn't know how to deal with death very well, but I'm accustomed to it now as a 32-year-old guy. Like, I've been to more funerals than weddings. And that sucks, but it is what it is, right? It means that I've loved a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day. And so I went through a little bit of like adversity that way. I didn't know how to, like, that was how I found out that Santa Claus wasn't real, right? Because I didn't get a phone call that year.
Really?
And, like, he would always call and say, ho, ho, ho.
So that was your grandpa that would call you as Santa Claus?
Yeah, and he didn't call that year, and that's how I found out. Like, I put the two and two together. I thought everyone had a Newfoundland, like, Santa Claus, right? I thought Santa Claus, like, came from St. John's.
That's a pretty cool thing for him to do in the first place,
though. It was
though.
so awesome, right? And I really thought, like, man, like, this is so cool. He sounds like my poppy. Like, he sounds like my grandpa. It's Santa Claus, right? Yeah. So it's cool, but, like, so that stuff started happening, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I lost a really good friend in a car accident when I was 16, like, a girl that I loved with all my heart when we were 16, right? And then my best friend got killed rock climbing when I was 18, and like, I was supposed to be with him, but I had an exam, so I didn't go with him. Like, I was going to meet him up the next day, and so that kind of happened, and my parents were so like, we got to pay the bills, we're going to pay the mortgage, screw your feelings, like, go on with life. If you have tough feelings, like, soldier up kind of thing. So I suppressed a lot of that emotion about that stuff, and I was a tough guy, and in hockey I was the fighter. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I got a lot of my emotions out. Like,
just getting in brawls on the ice
all the time. Like, I think I only have 34 points. In 4 years, and I have 600 penalty minutes.
Are you serious?
Like, I think I did pretty well in the penalty department, for sure.
That's not bad.
No, and like, I can throw them. I could, and that was something that, I mean, it was great that I could be known as that, as a protector.
You were an enforcer.
I was, for sure.
Cool.
And like, I'm not a fighter now. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But that was my role in hockey. I wasn't very talented, but I had a ton of, like, work ethic. Yeah. And I just went and played. And
it sounds like you had a lot of sort of pent up aggression too that needed to get released.
Yeah. And that was the, like, best way to do it, right? When I got kicked out, like, I was that guy who's, like, showing the belt or, like, like, putting my arms up. Like,
you were flashy when you won?
I was that guy, yeah. I was like, come after me,
So you're an entertainer a bit, too.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit, I guess, for sure.
Fair enough.
So that and I loved playing hockey. I loved playing at that level, and I loved the guys and, the community that we kind of built, a brotherhood of hockey. And so I broke my leg when I was 19, and that kind of ended the playing stuff. So I got right I went to Lambton College and got my coach's certificate. So.
Sure. So you broke your leg, and that was kind of the end of the hockey career. How did you break your leg?
In hockey.
Hockey?
Yeah, a guy hit me knee on knee.
Oh.
And, like, shattered my kneecap. And
at least you went out doing what you love, right? And it wasn't something that was just, like, falling off the porch.
Yeah.
That'd be a little more...
It was tough, for sure. Like, that was kind of, I think, the first time I ever felt depression. I just didn't know what depression was at that point. But I definitely got depressed after that, because all I'd done for 19 years was play hockey.
Yeah.
And it was taken away. Like, I remember I can still sit here and hear the doctor saying, like, you're done. Like, you're going to be in a brace for 12 months.
Right.
Good luck putting a pair of skates on.
So after that, did you did you know that you were going to just go right to college, or were you considering, because you seem like someone that doesn't take orders, right?
Yeah.
So were you thinking about maybe going against those doctor's orders and getting back on the skates anyway?
Oh, for sure. Like, I went to Lambton College and I got in.
Yeah.
But I know Dino Cicerelli, who is the GM of Sarnia Sting.
Yep.
And I said, hey, Dino, like, can you give me a shot at camp? And he said, like, just come out as a walk-on to camp. And I lasted 3 days, and I went to him and said, like, I just can't. My legs are screwed. Like, I just can't do it.
Really? So you tried?
I tried, for sure. But I just couldn't keep up with because I hadn't really done anything that summer for rehab.
Right.
So I lasted 3 days.
You're just resting on the leg.
Yeah, like, and that was it. And the guys were like, that I was, trying out with, they were, working out all summer and like training.
Dryland training.
Yeah, and I wasn't at all. I was just trying to like get a little bit of muscle back in my leg and then like chill out on the beach. And
sure.
And Dino gave me an awesome opportunity there, right?
Yeah.
But and I thanked him for it. And so I stayed in Sarnia and I got my NCCP, like my National Canadian Coaches Program thing at 20. So I don't know, there's not too many people that do that at that age. Like,
sure.
And I was just very proud to do that, and I put in a ton of work, and it was a 3-year program, and I went my first year program, like my first year, got my coaches, and
awesome.
Like took off. So
yeah.
It was super cool, and I met a girl, like I met this girl on the first day of college.
It's always a girl, man.
It's always a girl. She was like blonde, curly hair, mini skirt, drunk. I was like, I'm going to marry this girl.
Yeah.
This is my kind of woman.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre. I ended up, being engaged to her and having a child with that girl.
Really?
Which is so bizarre down the road.
It was down the road, so it wasn't at that time?
No, but I met her on the first day of school and I was like, yep, like she is the one.
Wow.
For sure, yeah.
Wow.
And, so we started dating. Her name was Amber. We started dating in college. And so she moved back home to a place just outside of Simcoe, called Delhi, Ontario, and it's not my favorite spot in Ontario at all, but
okay.
She sued me back there, and so I got a job at a welding shop, just because I'd welded for a little bit, and there was a thing that came up by the convenience store. They were hiring hockey coaches for the Delhi Minor Hockey Association, so
yep.
I was like, perfect, like this works. I just got this job. I got a sweet girl, like I'm going to go coach hockey, like I'm living the dream. I'm
sure.
Like 21 years old.
You're 21 at this time.
Yeah.
So you're with your girl that you met the first day of school.
Yeah.
And where did you meet at school? Like which area?
I think it was like after like first day, I think we all had a party in the courtyard.
Okay.
And like we were just all like, yay, first time away from home. We were all drunk off like 6 beers, right?
Yeah. And what did she finish her program, or did you guys just go back to Delhi, right?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So she was taking nursing and didn't finish it.
Yep.
And so she like did her PSW through continuing education, but did it from Delhi.
Okay.
So
and you decided that you were going to move back there with her.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, because I was in love with her.
All right.
Yeah. That was.
Young love, man.
Yeah, young love. I was like, where is Delhi? Like, where is this town, right?
Yeah.
But it was close to a beach, right? Like, it's close to Turkey Point, Port Dover, and I'm a beach fan. So
sure. Me too.
I was like, all right, well, Delhi it is.
Yep.
So that's how that worked. I don't know. There's not very many people in Delhi. Like,
no.
And it's not like the greatest. It's a tobacco town, right?
Is it?
Yeah, there's just not my favorite place at all.
But she was there.
She was there, and I thought, okay, like let's play house. We got an apartment. And things were going good. So I remember like getting contacted about putting my application in
for the coaching.
And this lady said, like we've never had a 20-year-old with the credentials that you have. Like we would love for you to at least talk to the president of minor hockey. And it was her husband that she was calling about, and so she said, go and meet him. There's like a minor hockey barbecue, like a fundraiser.